everyone, it's Boxing Gossip here, and today I'm joined by my good friend Jet, Jet who runs the Boxing Discussions YouTube channel. Jet, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm alright, mate. You?
Yeah, very good, thanks, very good. Lots to talk about after this week's weekend action. I guess Chris Eubank stole the show, but first things first, we're going to start with the Sky card, where there was a world title. Which fights stood out, caught your eye on that card, Jet?
I'd say the undercard fight. Obviously, Etches came back, I know that, but Luke Campbell was probably the most interesting fight for me. For me, it was not so much that the opponent or anything. I know Gary Sykes actually beat Crawler twice, got a split decision against Terry Flanagan, and he beat Tommy Coyle as well. But it wasn't so much the opponent for me. It was more how Campbell was going to come back, how he was going to look, if he was going to look, devastating as he was before the Mendy fight. Any changes with the new trainer Jorge Rubio, and we couldn't really gauge. I mean, Sykes went out 2 rounds, no fault of his own. Maybe Campbell was just a level above him in boxing terms, but I really want to see where he can go from here. He's good, but as I always say, I always mention in the live shows that for me he hasn't adapted well to the pro ranks. He's still very much an amateur scoring fighter. He's he uses the jab and then he comes in with the combinations just to catch the eye, and then the opponent will catch him, and he does really relatively the same thing. The thing that really, as I said before, the thing that really worries me is that Mendy. I know he's a big, strong, durable 135 and 140 contender. Is that he had no no respect for Luke Campbell's power, and that's what really, really worried me. And against the top of the lightweights, I mean, Linares has been stripped. I think Dejan Zlatikanin is fighting for the WBC title. He beat Burns over in Scotland quite a while ago, so he's fighting for the vacant title with another undefeated Italian dude. They're fighting for that title, so Linares faces the winner. I don't know how he would fare against those guys. Bartholomew, everyone's saying he's going to clean up lightweight, but I'm not. I've watched bits and pieces of him, as I've said before, but I don't know how he would fare against him. And Bartholomew is quite rangy, and he's a Cuban southpaw, I think it is. So he's relatively solid there. Terry Flanagan as well, solid operator, WBO titleist, and Andy Crawler, I think he could well lose his WBA title against Ismael Barroso. So I don't really know where Campbell goes for me. He's talking about Cardle next, but it's tough. It's really tough. Where do you think he goes from here?
Yeah, well, I think if Cardle beats Dodd, that is a fight that kind of makes sense. Luke Campbell is a fighter who I really, really rate, actually. I think he's pretty good. I think with Kevin Mitchell departing the scene, I actually think that Luke Campbell could still be in a position to be Britain's premier lightweight in 18 months' time. I think he's, on his day, he's a very, very, very good fighter. I mean, I've said this a few times before, so sorry if I'm boring people, but that Mendy fight, I just don't think he was himself due to weight issues. I think he could be a different fighter if he, didn't have distractions outside of the ring. Obviously, we know there's family issues there with his father's ill health at present. So, yeah, I rate Luke Campbell, and I'd like to see him in big fights. I mean, Gary Sykes, likeable competitor, but too small. Got absolutely schooled by Liam Walsh when they fought recently. And it was always going to be a tough ask for him against Luke Campbell. We've already seen Luke Campbell deal with the Tommy Coyles and that level of fighter, and I just think he's going to have a level above, the Sykeses and the Coyles and the Cardles and those sort of guys right now.
Yeah, I agree. I still think he needs a lot of time to gel with his new trainer as well, and get accustomed. He has said he's been with Rubio on and off for about 12, 18 months, so here and there. But I mean, we need to wait and see. The thing is, he's got such a decorated amateur pedigree. I don't think he actually needs to go for the British title, but I don't know. Maybe that's just me being a bit harsh on him. He's got the skills, but he should just work on technically refining to the pro game, and getting in there with people like the Mendys of this world, and maybe the Hank Lundys and those sort of people that are there or thereabouts. They're like the fringe world level contenders. That they're durable and they're gonna give you rounds and they're gonna give you a tough night either way. Do you know what I mean? But
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, it's hard to see where he goes. I just I do hope he keeps progressing and doesn't stagnate. After the Coyle fight, I don't think he had a fight until the Mendy fight, which was actually in December. It was a good layoff, but then he has about 6 months out, something like that. So 5 to 6 months is not ideal, but maybe of the family issues and that sort of stuff, I can understand that. That's a totally fair point. Main event, I mean, Kell Brook, Kevin Bizier. What did you make of it? I saw your videos, but anything else you would like to add, and potential opponents as well?
Yeah, I thought Kell Brook looked superb in there. I really did. In terms of potential opponents, um, when we were speaking offline, you mentioned Jesse Vargas, right?
Yeah.
Don't be surprised if Eddie Hearn wheels out Jesse Vargas in
Yeah.
3 months' time as the top 5 welterweight pay-per-view superstar Mexican warrior Jesse Vargas.
Yeah.
Don't be surprised to see that whatsoever, because where he can go in the welterweight division, it's the Pacquiao Bradley winner, it's the Porter Thurman winner, or it's Danny Garcia.
Yeah.
And I don't think any of those fighters, with the possible exception of Tim Bradley, would even contemplate coming over to the UK. And the funny thing is, I don't really see natural matchups for Kell at 154 pound. I mean, the only obvious one is Liam Smith.
Yeah.
But a lot of these fighters, the Andrades, the Charlos, they're not big names. That's bringing in a huge risk to Kell Brook for very limited reward. So he's in a real tough place for opponents. And yeah, Jesse Vargas maybe is a realistic option there.
Yeah, I mean Vargas as well. He'll be cheap to bring over. He's not gonna break the bank for Eddie Hearn. He's got a world title, so a chance to unify for Kell. And it's a name more than anything. Jesse Vargas just beat Saddam Ali. Saddam Ali was highly rated in the States. So I mean, it's a good name for Kell Brook. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to see him face Jesse Vargas firstly and foremost. Mate, I'd love for him to face Tim Bradley first, and then possibly Danny Garcia, and then Thurman in that order, possibly.
Yeah.
But I just don't see it. I mean, Al Heyman works with Eddie Hearn, and they work quite closely. I do know that, but I don't think Al's going to actually send over his premier fighters to come over here for whatever sort of money. And I know Danny Garcia last time actually said, I'd come over to the UK, but the tax bracket's too high. So, I mean, you're going to win some Brook, but you're going to lose a lot with Brook as well. 154, as you said, Charlo's aren't a big name. Even the Liam Smith, it's a natural fight, but he's on Box Nation and Kell's on Sky Sports and with Eddie Hearn. I don't think they're going to do business regardless of, how big a name that Eddie Hearn actually thinks Brook is, which he's not. So, I mean, for me, it's a tough ask where Kell actually goes. He's still talking about Amir Khan, which is completely pointless, and he's deluded if he actually thinks he's going to get that fight next. Amir Khan, I don't actually think is going to step in straight after a potential Canelo loss. And, as you said, Thurman Porter, that's been rescheduled to June 25th, if I'm correct. So they want Kell to fight in July. That's not going to happen. Danny Garcia, Eddie Hearn actually said that he thinks he's waiting out for the Mayweather fight. Tim Bradley, Pacquiao, that might be a war. So, I don't know how fit they'll be for July. And, it's a tough ask. I mean, it's hard to gauge where he's going to go.
You know what? The more we talk about it, the more I'm convinced it's going to be Vargas. Because when I was mentioned Vargas earlier on, I had actually completely forgotten that Vargas was a world champion.
Yeah.
Because Vargas versus Saddam Ali was such a weak world title fight. It kind of flew under the radar. I mean, I wouldn't have considered either of those guys to be top 10 in their division. So I didn't notice that as a world title fight. But you're right. And the fact that Eddie Hearn can sell that as a unification fight, the fact that he can build it, and the fact that Kell would then be in a position of holding 2 belts, I think that makes that fight a very, very realistic possibility, actually. You're right. I mean, Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn do work together sometimes. We saw that with Eggington Skeet,
but not on the level. You know what I
not
mean?
on this level.
Yeah.
We're talking like marquee names. For Kell Brook to go over to Box Nation, if he got knocked out, I mean, I can't see it. I mean, now we're talking about it, the Vargas fight. I do think that's realistic. Yeah.
But even then, after the Vargas fight, where does he go from there? That's the the biggest question out of all of it. Fair enough, he faces Vargas, probably beats him. Well, I'll actually give Jesse Vargas some credit. I don't think he's that good. He's lost. Sorry, he's won some dubious decisions down the years. Kept his unbeaten record. Then he lost to Bradley. He came back in this fight. He looked really, really solid. Second round onwards, he was catching Ali clean, hurting him. He looked like he's coming in at different angles. I don't know if you remember, if you ever seen it. Danny Jacobs' his first loss against Dimitri Pirog.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the knockout. How Pirog came from orthodox to southpaw to orthodox and came catching with the overhand right. That's how Jesse Vargas was coming in, and he was very, very awkward that night. As I said, don't get me wrong. I don't want to see Kell Brook versus Jesse Vargas on pay-per-view, similar to Kell Brook, Frankie Gavin. But, Eddie Hearn is going to say, yeah, look, it's a world title unification fight. It's one of the biggest fights out there for Kell, and he's going to justify it via pay-per-view. It's similar to the Tony Bellew situation against Makubu for the WBC Cruiserweight title. That he'd have to put on a big card just to justify that being pay-per-view after Bellew's last pay-per-view, which was a flop against Cleverly. So I mean, for me, it's a difficult sell. Straight after the fight, it's who's Kell Brook going to face next? Is it a big name? Is he going to go in for another unification, or is he going to defend both the titles? Is he going to drop one? Is he going to move up? There's going to be so many questions that people are actually going to question his move to unify, if you understand what I mean. It's going to be so difficult that there's always going to be the logical next step is keep on the same level, but with his injury problems and the stabbing and whatnot, and his Kell Brook, Eddie Hearn not pushing Brook to and getting the big fights for him. It's going to be very, very hard. I don't know if that's something you share or not, but that's just my opinion.
Real hard at the minute. I mean, all of the big names are over there in the States, and it's real hard because Eddie Hearn's desperate to build him in the UK. But I just don't see the marquee names coming over for him. Kell Brook's good, but he's not a superstar, is he? He's not like coming over to face Anthony Joshua, where you get a huge payday and a huge global interest. You're not getting that with Kell Brook. So, I think Kell Brook is maybe one of these things where he's almost too good to be an appealing prospect to come over, and he doesn't have the money associated with him. So it's a very, very tough job for Eddie Hearn. It really is. And maybe it's too tough a job for anyone in the UK. Maybe Kell Brook needs to look internationally, full stop, to move himself forward. But we shall see. And when it is announced, Jet and I will most certainly be posting videos to discuss it. But cool. Thanks for watching this section, guys.